it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another tag, something a little bit different that I haven't ever done before, but I'm really intrigued by the concept. That is the Try a Chapter tag, which was created by BookParadise. I will link the original video down below. However, I was inspired by Lala from BooksandLala's interpretation of the tag, so I'm going to kind of use her structure, how she put together her video as inspiration for mine. So I will link her most recent one down below because I think she's done this more than once. For this tag, you just grab 5 books that you are kind of interested in, read the first chapter of each book, and then you decide which book you want to pursue. This really works perfect for me right now because if you've watched my April TBR, I don't really know what I want to read. It's because I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I'm a mood reader, and so when you don't know what you're in the mood for, you don't read. This is me trying to figure out what I'm in the mood for exactly. I've got 5 very different books, also 5 books that I really want to get to and that I've been eyeing on my shelf and I've been meaning to pick up for a while. Hopefully this will give me that little push to read at least one of these. The first one I have here is Female the Species by Mindy McGinnis. It's not my usual genre. Like, I don't pick up a lot of social commentary contemporary novels. All I know about it is there's like a murder, revenge plot, and it has to do with rape culture. This is going to be one of like the first books I read on like a social commentary topic, so I'm interested to dip my toes in that genre a little bit. It's not something I usually gravitate towards. That is the first book. Next I have Daughter of Deep Silence by Carrie, and this is a revenge story as well. I believe it's about a girl who is on a cruise ship that sinks. There are lies about how the cruise ship sank, but she knows the truth and she's impersonating somebody. I really don't know. Try that one out. Next I have It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Now I love Colleen Hoover, so I know I'd get to this eventually. I just don't want to run out of Colleen Hoover books, which I know is silly because I will eventually. This one I've heard is different tone-wise than her other novels. It's darker, it's more like real. I think it's a dual perspective novel about 2 boys who both date this girl at different points in her life and then they somehow interact. I was told it's better to go into it blind, so I'm trying to not learn too much about it, but I am really excited about this one too. And next I have Nevernight by Kristoff. I heard it's kind of a denser novel. It's also kind of been putting me off because dense novels scare me. But I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. It's an adult novel, but the characters are of YA ages, and it has to do with a girl who is trained to be an assassin and she has a shadow cat. And that's about all I know. Last book I have is Caraval by Garber. Started to be some mixed reviews and bad reviews, and then I just got really nervous and I really want to like it, but I'm nervous now to read it. I really want to like it. We'll see. So I'm going to try that one as well. So these are the 5 books that I'm going to give a try today. I'm going to read the first chapter from each one of these, and then I will come back on here a little bit later and tell you what I thought of each chapter and which one I'm going to end up continuing with. Stay tuned until then. Okay guys, I'm back. It's a little bit later, so we're going to find out which book I'm going to read. Let's go ahead and start with Daughter of Deep Silence by Carrie. I'm back from reading the first chapter of Daughter of Deep Silence. I'm intrigued. I'm a little confused. I don't particularly trust our main character. The front page is like a teaser, like I don't really understand what's happening. Somebody named Libby is very upset and angry, and she encounters a boy and she wants to like assault him, kind of, not assault, confront him about something. And then some memory from the cruise surfaces about people kissing. And then it goes to the first chapter where our main character, whose name is Frances, is pulled out of a life raft after being adrift in the ocean for 7 days. She was apparently in the life raft with her best friend Libby, but Libby died like earlier in that day. She's really excited because she learned that this boy that she had met on the cruise ship, Gray, is also still alive. There are only 3 survivors. This boy, Gray, that she had a crush on, Frances, and then Gray's father. And apparently the cruise ship they were on was attacked and there was a massacre. I'm really curious. Like I said, I feel like people are lying, like there's something fishy going on here. So I'm very intrigued. This is a high contender. So next I'm going to pick up It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is a long chapter. Oh my lord. Okay, so I finished the first chapter of It Ends With Us, and this was a really long chapter. It's like 26 pages. This one opens with our main character Lily sitting on the edge of a rooftop, and she's kind of contemplating the last couple hours of her life. Her father had just died that week. She kind of pulled a stunt at his funeral that left her mother not too happy, and she's sitting up there reflecting on it when this man barges into her quiet space on this roof, kind of throws a temper tantrum, and then realizes he's not alone, and they kind of start talking. And then at the end of the chapter, one of them is forced to leave for a job obligation, and they seem both really disappointed. I'm, again, intrigued. It was a pretty steamy first chapter for characters who've never met before. I really enjoyed it. It had like a little bit of a darker tone to it. I want to know more. This one was a good one too. I don't know which I'm going to pick. Next we have Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. Let's see here. Oh, this is a... Shit, this is a really short chapter. What? Okay, I'm like really intrigued. This was only 3 pages. It was really short. This did more in 3 pages than the other 2 books did in 10 and 26 respectively. Looks like it's gonna be dual perspective. The first chapter is following a character named Alex. The book starts off with, "This is how I kill someone." And then she goes through like a day in her life of how she stalks this man who apparently she believes killed her sister in the woods, and she's trying to take revenge by killing him herself. And one day he invites her into his house and she willingly goes knowing that he killed her sister. I might want to read this. I don't know. That was like the most gripping 3 pages I've ever read. Next we have Nevernight by Kristoff. Oh, it's like those kinds of books where like the chapter breaks in the middle. This was like how The Fifth Wave was, and I don't really like that. Caveat emptor? I don't know what this says. Caveat emptor? I don't know what that means. These books and like their opening lines. People often shit themselves when they die. What? I picked 5 way too interesting books for this because I want to read all of these now. Okay, so this first chapter was 12 pages long. It also had a 1-page prologue, and the prologue like really got my attention. It was from an unknown narrator who wanted to give us like the true story of our main character, because I guess a lot has been written in legend. Then the actual first chapter kind of confused me. There are 2 parts to it. There are italicized passages and then there are regular font passages, and the italicized ones were from more of like a lover's perspective. Like this girl who seemed kind of like a prostitute was going out to service this boy, and there was some kind of exchange of money happening, but then like the exact same scene was written from more of like a mercenary standpoint where this girl was going out to kill somebody. I feel like the murdering somebody plotline was like the actual what was happening in real life, so I don't understand what the italicized font was there for, so it's a little confusing. I'm intrigued. And the last book I had picked out was Caraval by Stephanie Garber. My cat wants it and she's clawing at the door. Oh, you're purring. Okay, so the first chapter of Caraval is very interesting. It's a series of letters. So it's only about 11 pages long, and it's just a series of letters, and they're written from our main character Scarlet to the master of Caraval, whose name is Legend. It looks like she's been writing to him since she was about 10 years old, asking him to come to her island. And one of the years that she writes to him, she apologizes for this potential murder scenario that Legend might have been involved in. Finally, her last letter, I think, is 7 years after she initially writes her first letter, and she says, "I don't think that you should come this year. I'm going to be married soon, and it just wouldn't be a good idea." And he writes back to her on the 7th year, congratulating her on her upcoming nuptials and saying that Caraval is no longer a traveling performance, but it's an invitation-only show now. It sounds like he has invited her and her fiance to come to this next performance. It was a very interesting format, being that it was all written in letters, and got a little bit of a glimpse of how badly Scarlet wants to experience this performance, and that Legend is a possible murderer, at least an accused murderer. But other than that, I didn't get much out of it. So I don't really know how much that gripped me in comparison to some of the other things that I read. So I don't think Nevernight's gonna be something I pick up right now. I just think it's a little bit too dense. I'm gonna need to give it too much attention compared to what I can give it right now. So I'm gonna push this off until summer. Caraval just didn't give me enough in the first chapter to really suck me in. I think this is something I'm going to have to give at least a couple of chapters. It's so weird that like the 2 fantasy books I didn't want to read, which are like typically what I go for. So it's one of these 3. I kind of want to read all of them. I don't know if I really want a romance right now. I just read a Colleen Hoover book last month, so I don't know if I'm ready for more Colleen Hoover quite yet. So one of these. I'm like really leaning towards the Female of the Species, just because what idiot goes into a murderer's house knowingly I mean, I know she plans to murder him, but she's like a teenager and he's an adult. I'm interested. And then this one just seems like there's so much lying going on. I just feel like we have an unreliable narrator in this novel, and those are always so fascinating. This one, I don't know why it's like calling my name. I only read 3 pages of it. I think I'm gonna go with this one first, and then I will pick this one up later in the month, because I definitely feel like I'm going to be reading both of them because I'm just really intrigued by both premises. I'm going to be reading The Female, the Species by Mindy McGinnis. I'm excited. I'll get back to you in a couple of days after I've read it and tell you what I thought of it. Hi guys, so I'm back. I'm here to tell you my thoughts on The Female, the Species by Mindy McGinnis. I was blown away by this book. I know that people rave about it and say how important it is and say how culturally significant this book is, and I mean, they're right. It really is. It blew me away how Mindy McGinnis was able to take these things that we see every day in our society and make it so brutally honest and harsh, and basically call you out and say, these are things that you do every day and look at how wrong they are. Look at, in this context, when I frame it like this, how wrong those things are. And I was really impressed by her delivery in this book. It's a very important and relevant examination of rape culture. It poses and answers questions like, what would you do if your sister was a victim of sexual assault? What would you do if there wasn't enough evidence to convict her rapist? What would you do to get revenge on the situation? It is truly a wish fulfillment story. It shows actions of what so many men and women who are in this situation wish that they could do, that they could enact their own justice. I have to say that there are some passages in here where I was taken aback by how crude and vulgar and crass they were, but not because I was offended by them, but just because I wasn't expecting that from a YA novel. She uses terminology and she says things that are just so unseen in YA across the board, and I was just shocked that she had the guts to put it in here and make the commentary that she was making. It was incredibly gutsy, but I think she pulled it off incredibly well. She had to take this approach in order to make the statements that she was trying to make. She was trying to point out how incredibly wrong this mindset and this thinking and this approach to rape is in our society, and so in order to do that, she had to come at it with this really grotesque approach, and I just thought it really nicely highlighted the problem. Put it in a way that really called out the reader and said, hey, do you do these things? I'm sorry, the sun was up behind a cloud and it like totally changed the lighting. And it called out the reader and forced the reader to kind of reflect on how they approach these situations. I love that she was able to take these actions and these thoughts that are so fundamentally ingrained in our society, but are also so fundamentally wrong. We know it's wrong, but she was able to point out how exactly it is wrong. It was just so well done, so well crafted, so well executed, just so impressed by it. I loved the way that the 3 different perspectives we were following learned from each other, learned from their own mistakes, learned from their community, how the community learned as a whole as a result of actions that our 3 main characters were making. And there were some incredibly moving passages, some passages that were just so raw and so real that I was just like, this is such truth, and like, you know it's truth, but you just don't always see it enacted. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I think this was an incredibly well done book. I think that she achieved exactly what she set out to achieve. So I'd like to know if you've also read The Female and the Species, so tell me in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!